Let's take a look at the red London telephone box. Hi, I'm Justin at Brady Joyner Bricks, and as a LEGO ambassador, I get the opportunity to review sets occasionally and share with you fun details about the build process. In this case, I also had the privilege of interviewing both the fan designer of this LEGO Ideas model and the lead LEGO designer behind the model as well. So I'll be sharing with you some of the fun facts that I learned from them as we talk about the build. So let's get into it. The build for the red telephone box is incredible, and from the fan design to what we see today, the biggest change that you'll notice is the scale. The scale of the fan model was built on LEGO Studio, which is a website where you can go ahead and design things digitally. And in the digital builds, these windows, all of these windows you see, were actually scaled to the size of a door. So a door frame, a LEGO door frame, which is much, much larger than these windows. It's actually a really wonderful thing that they scaled this down, as this is a much better fit for any bookshelf or maybe for some place within your office or whatnot as well. Beyond that, they've really retained a lot of the really wonderful details, like the hanging baskets inside of the phone booth. The floor still has that kind of iconic tiling that you'll notice as well, and lots of other fun features too. Another thing that went away was the post office box. And so the phone booth is an homage to the K2 phone booth, which is the iconic red London phone booth that people are used to seeing. That's an actual company, and they had to go ahead and share the rights with LEGO to be able to build this set. So in order for them to also have the post box, they would have had to also get another sign off from Royal Mail for them to use that design as well. So it made more sense and was more cost efficient also to remove that from that. And in place, they actually added these two bollards. So bollards are things that you notice in the streets that prevent people from driving kind of outside of where they're supposed to be driving their cars. When Philip and I visited London, we actually saw a ton of these throughout the streets. And one area, it was really cool. They were painted in rainbow colors as it was Pride Month. It was included so that you could go ahead and put a cell phone right behind the bollards and lean it up against the fence. And there is a little archway brick that's being used so that you could even plug in the phone discreetly as well. This build is a really super impressive build. The fan designer is named John Cramp, and he's actually designed 4 designs on LEGO Ideas that have made it to the 10,000 Club. The other 3 were more minifigure scale and more like modular style. So his biggest advice for people on LEGO Ideas who want their builds not only just to reach that 10,000 supporters mark, but also to make it across the finish line to becoming a product, is to really think about what types of sets does LEGO already sell, and how is what you're doing and what you're building and designing different than what there's already have on the store shelves. Truthfully, they might be planning something similar to what you're already building, so think about getting outside the box. So in this case, he actually took the idea of a phone booth, which was a small little feature in a minifig scale size on one of his modular builds, and decided to upscale it into this beautiful model. So the model itself has a door that opens on the actual phone booth itself. Really cool, really clever. It also has 5 rows of windows. One of the things the fan designer and the LEGO designer talked about was one change that they had to go to in really making the scale fit perfectly, was to actually go to 5 rows of windows instead of 6. So if you look at a K2 actual phone booth, there are 6 rows of windows. A way to use the LEGO windows for this and really still achieve almost a 1-to-1 ratio look, it makes more sense for them to use the regular windows that we see in LEGO builds with 5 tall. Fun fact about the K2 telephone box, there was a competition within London for someone to design them. So an architect designed the winning model, and that was what you see as the ubiquitous, beautiful red telephone booths that we see everywhere. The funny thing is, that same architect who won the K2 design for the telephone booth also went on to design the Battersea building. And the Battersea building now houses, you guessed it, a LEGO shop. And Marina Stampoli is the model designer for the set, and she is also an architect. So it's really a fun full circle moment there too. So the set itself is designed with this base in mind, where you have the cobblestone streets. Fun fact is that Marina had to design at least 10 different options of what those cobblestone walkway could look like. And then they went through and picked their absolute favorite, which looked like this one, of course. You can easily remove just the telephone booth and have that displayed separately as well. Let's first start with the base itself. The base itself has those beautiful cobblestone streets where people can walk. It has a flower planter down here and also 2 hanging planters up here, hanging from that beautiful telephone pole. I'm loving the little bit of orange that you see inside, and the build techniques are really super clever. Also has those 2 bollards that I mentioned before, and they're actually attached using Technic pins underneath. And that's purposeful so that if you're resting your phone against it, they're not going to fall over or knock over. Additionally, this piece is actually rather sturdy as well, so the light itself is not going to knock over if you're reaching around to grab your phone or whatnot. They said it went under some rigorous testing for that. One addition that the LEGO Ideas team added to the model was this beautiful fence post. When you walk the streets of London, you see these iconic black fence posts with the top of them being gold painted all the way around the city. So this really captured the essence of that very well. And then they added a fun street sign, as this is meant to represent the idea of a telephone box, but not a specific neighborhood or whatnot. So instead, they created a LEGO neighborhood. It's Biltmore Road, SC1, in the city of Brixton. Let's take a look at the telephone box itself. When you open the door, you can see inside, and let me just show you how great the light works. So the lighting effect has that kind of eerie yellowish glow that you see, and it actually does light up the space on the inside pretty well, which is fun. I'm loving that it's a really minimal thing that you notice on the top. It's got a very sleek view around the outside. You'll notice great use of the grills in red that kind of creates some detailing there. Of course, those windows are inset, and then there are 2 printed bricks in this set. So you'll see the telephone and you'll see the crown across the top. It is a generic looking crown, and that's on purpose. The reason for that is any crown that references any actual royal family would have to go through copyright issues as well. The inside of the phone booth has a phone book, and it also has 2 different build styles that you can go ahead and create. So the first build style, which we have shown here, is the more modern phone. This phone is meant to be referencing maybe the 1990s, and you'll notice the different signs that are in here, those stickers. Big city sightseeing, get tickets here, which is also referencing the beautiful red London bus that's a buildable set as well. Also visit Legoland, which I believe was opened in the mid-90s, and that's the one in Windsor. And then your ideas here, call 7, 8, 10. Obviously it's meta, given that this is a LEGO Ideas set, but then also the phone number listed, 7, 8, 10, is actually the anniversary of the fan designer. And then I love this little phone book, this little yellow phone book that is actually in both the retro version of the phone and this more modern version of the phone. So let's take a look at the alternate build. On the inside of the alternate build, you see the rotary phone, so a much more old school type of a phone. Also, that phone book is still there because that's still iconic with a phone as well. But what I love the most are the stickers on the tiles behind it, which have references to things that would have been more iconic for that time period. So, Jazz Live Friday 7/8, a super fun kind of reference to that Jazz Quartet set, which we'll talk about in a minute, but also has a neat tie-in here. We also see new model TC, and then a reference to or a sticker of the typewriter. And then below that it says tea time. Additionally, where we see TC here on this sticker and where we see SC on the road sticker, those are actually the initials of the fan designer's children. And then we also see help numbers, and the help numbers for fire and for police reference actual LEGO sets in the city line that are for fire and police too. On the left side, there's a really long sticker, and this one I just think is too funny. It says, "Please be brief," and then it looks like there's pages and pages and pages of information written below it. Lastly, a fun little advertisement for hats. What I will say that I was surprised about when I was building it at first was I thought you could build both versions and easily swap them out, but what I found is you actually have to disassemble one in order to put in the other one. So I found in my stash of Lego some other bricks that would fit and work so that I could go ahead and have both built and make it easy to swap out. So earlier I referenced the Jazz Quartet, which I want to tell you first off is my favorite set of all time. It is an incredible build, and we have it displayed just below our record player. But the main reason that there's a reference to the Jazz Quartet is that the scale for the phone box matches the scale for the figures that are built in the Jazz Quartet. This is just too cool, y'all. I pulled out the bassist and the horn player so that you can see scale-wise how they would fit with this model, but I do plan on actually mocking up another character or another figure that might be standing out beside the telephone box. When asking the fan designer and the Lego designer about what are some of the things that they thought they would like for people to experience with the build, they would like to see people build an entire streetscape with those scaled up buildable figures so that the telephone box is just one of many things along that street with lots of different people and the rush and hubbub of what you might see in London. Also, of course, someone referenced how fun it would be to see this built as a TARDIS, and I'm sure that we will see many people take the instructions here and mock up a TARDIS or two. And one last thing that the fan designer had said that he would love to see is for people to mock up these phone boxes as something different than for the purpose of a phone box. Across the UK, a lot of the telephone boxes aren't really used as phones anymore, but they've been repurposed into libraries. There's even some that are defibrillator stations for health and safety. So there's all different types of things that they could be mocked up for. So the details for the set. The red London telephone box retails for $114.99, starting on February 4th. The piece count is 1460, so there's a lot of pieces in this. Of course, tons of red, which is fun. And the scale itself, it is 12 inches high, so it's a foot tall. It is 7.5 inches wide, and it is 6 inches deep. This is actually slightly too tall for our bookshelf, as our bookshelves often are around 11 inches tall in our house. We do have some in our IKEA Billy bookcases that have a little bit higher shelves, so that'll work pretty well too. But the nice thing is we also may display it just as the telephone booth itself. So we might remove that and have that on display. And we have a perfect place for it. We have a London shelf that has all different Lego and other icons from our trips to London. And so that'll be the perfect spot for us to display it too. Thanks for joining for this review. This is the first one that I had the opportunity to share on YouTube, and I'm very excited to continue to build out this channel. You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok at Brady Joyner Bricks. And I would love it if you would like and subscribe to go ahead and help support the growth of this YouTube channel. Additionally, I'd love to hear from you. If there's things that you'd like to see in future reviews, please let me know. I'd love to make sure that these reviews are super effective and helpful and really capture all the different pieces that you want to hear about. Thanks, y'all!